Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for coming back to our podcast. We are T3 Technologies, and we've had 2 episodes already. We're going to episode number 3. This episode, I'm going to find very interesting. I'm excited about this podcast. This podcast is going to ruffle some feathers. I'm not going to lie. We're going to ruffle some feathers here. Okay. The title of this podcast is AI making us stupider? So, and I'm going to introduce my guest first. So obviously, Tony Jimenez, not a guest, mainstay at the podcast now. You'll see him on future episodes. He's our sales manager. Tony, hi, hey brother, welcome back.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. I was excited about doing the research on this one, and I look forward to where the discussion goes.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm going to introduce our guest. So his name is Al Sharif Blackman. Everyone calls him Al. Al, let's go through your accolades first. First of all, you got a bachelor's degree. So from Post University, laying the groundwork of your career in support, mainly IT support, obviously, because he's the man. You're a visionary, have great ideas. So my man Al, I mean, let's give it up for him, man.
Hey guys. Thank you for having me on the show, guys. He basically gave you the whole shenanigans about me, coming from a single parent into the new world, into my bachelor's degree, into the new IT realm. Is just been a blessing in disguise, and especially to be here with AJ and Tony today. I'm really excited for this conversation, especially about ChatGPT making us stupider. So I wonder what the ideals of where this conversation is going to lead today.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So some premise on how this show came to fruition. Al took over a new position over at OAA. I came in to meet Al, and discussion came up about AI and ChatGPT. And Al said to me, "Is AI making us stupid?" Well, stupid. He said stupid, right? And then I thought, wow. In my retort right away was, well, what about Google? Is Google making us stupid? Right? Because it's the same thing. You're going on a Google search engine and searching for an answer, or you're in ChatGPT searching for an answer. So that's kind of how we thought this concept, not knowing that there was already an article published in 2008, which we're going to get into. And the article was appropriately named, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And so hence now we are, is AI making us even more stupid or stupider? So, let's dive into this, my friend. So real quick, and I want to make first of all, we're not calling anybody stupid. So we're not calling anybody stupid. We're all intelligent and in our own way, in our own fields of expertise. So, but I looked at Webster, guys. And I looked up the definition of intelligence and the definition of stupid. So let's start with that real quick. The definition of intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So more about retention, right? Yeah. So we acquire knowledge and skills, and we retain that information. The definition of stupid is having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. So, and again, if you lack intelligence, you will lack the ability to acquire knowledge, which will be stupid. So, and then I guess the question is, this is what it's all really about, is do we retain the information that we type into ChatGPT? Those questions that we're typing into our AI platform, and again, I say ChatGPT, I know there's Google Bard. I know there's Bing AI. So when I say ChatGPT, I mean AI.
That's all.
Right. Are we retaining that knowledge? And that's what this whole the whole podcast is really going to be about. So let's go through, guys, the evolution of consumption, right, of knowledge. So how do we consume knowledge? How did we consume knowledge? And again, I'm not going to go into the whole history of humanity and how we, acquired knowledge. Guys, it's funny is that there's a ride in Disney. No, I have a Disney seasonal pass, and there's Spaceship Earth, and you go through Spaceship Earth, and it tells you how information traveled throughout the world over the ages. So if you want to find out, go down to Disney, go on Spaceship Earth. So have a good time with that. I know our producer Tim's going down there sometime soon. So Tim, make sure you go on Spaceship Earth. So, but let's talk about how we consume knowledge in the past 100 years. Let's go through that. What do you guys think? How do you think we consume knowledge in the past 100 years? 1923 to 2023.
You want to start, Tony? Or you want me to go?
I mean, 100 years. I mean, you can start with books, right?
Right. Yeah,
like TV didn't come out until like the 60s, right? So
in 1970 something.
1950 actually was. 1950 was. Yeah.
The first Winter Olympics published or broadcast on TV was in 1960. So
wow,
that was in Lake Tahoe. I just learned that this weekend.
You learned this weekend, yeah. See, you're consuming knowledge.
Yeah, that's how I'm consuming knowledge, even to this day.
So crazy facts. Okay, so let's just go 1923 to 2000. The traditional way to consume knowledge would be books in print. Okay, and that for all forms of media. So you got, books, magazines, publications, your libraries, your encyclopedias. Remember the old encyclopedia salesman that would go door to door? Newspaper.
I do not, AJ. Remember that.
No, you don't know. Well, there were. I'm old tongue. So there were encyclopedia salesmen that went door to door and sold encyclopedias. Whole libraries of them too. Crazy. So and obviously radio. Right, radio came out, television came out in 1950. You had your traditional classroom settings. You had your schools, higher education, your lectures and talks. You had in person. And then the internet came out. Now, and I know that the internet really was started by the government, by the military, and by colleges. And I understand that the internet's been around for a couple of decades now. But in all reality, we didn't start using the internet on a consumption basis until the 1990s, late 90s. AOL came out and people, you got mail situation.
Mail.
Remember that? Remember those days? Right? And prior to that, you boys not remember this, but I remember when I was in high school, the big thing was BBS systems. And you'd actually use a dial-up modem and dial into these private homes with these numbers. And you would dial into these BBS systems. And then a bulletin board system was almost like an ASCII2 website. And for those that don't know what ASCII2 is, it's basically your basic characters. So it's there's no graphics, there was no pictures. If you wanted a picture, they'd lay out like a bunch of A's in a square and make it like really, really.
Yeah, that's old. That sounds old to me.
Yeah. So you're all right? So basically, anything between 1923 and 2000, it was very limited. Now let's go into 2000 beyond. So now 2000 beyond, Google started in 1997, didn't become more profound and public until the 2000s. So now we have the internet. Internet's more profound now than ever. You have your social media, all right? You have your Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter,
MySpace. I mean, it came out.
No particular order. MySpace, Twitter, TikTok.
So your mobile apps. I mean, the world's your oyster now at this point. Online courses, podcasts like we're doing today, webinars. You have your AI, you have your artificial intelligence. You have your VR, your virtual reality, and your AR, your augmented reality. And the list goes on. And now you have internet in your vehicles. Like if you have a Tesla, you have
instant access now.
You have instant access no matter where you go. So this information is coming at us at a fast pace. Yep. So now let's go into Google real quick and how Google has changed the landscape. First of all, do you guys know that Google is an acronym?
No, I did not.
You know that, Tony? I didn't know it either. Google is actually an acronym, and it stands for Global Organization of Oriented Group Language of Earth. Look, I can exercise that tonight.
of Earth.
Thank you, Google, for letting me Google that into your
memory for sure.
So yeah. So anyway, some fun facts about Google is in 2022 there was 99,000 searches every single second. There is 8.5 billion searches a day in 2022. Tell me that is just not a crazy number.
That is an insane number.
So they're just pumping out information like crazy. And again, 85% of us use Google 3 times a day. Most searches are done on mobile devices. Now, let's push that to the next limit. That means that we are consuming information 10 times over than we ever did back in the 90s, in the 80s, and 70s, and 60s. Are we retaining that information? So we're bringing all this information in. Are we actually retaining that? Are we going to remember that information 3 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? Tony, what do you think about that?
So when I started doing some preparation for the podcast, I remembered, and you had forgot to mention the Kindle. That's not your digital age thing.
Yeah.
I think that's all such print in books. But anyways, I read the book, A Few Lessons from Sherlock Holmes by Peter Bevelin. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from that book was about how your brain is an addict. And I don't know how, I can't really quote the book from Sherlock Holmes, but he tells Watson in it, your brain's like an addict and, you can just clutter it up and fill it up with stuff. Or you could be like Sherlock Holmes and mindfully, place knowledge there. So, with that, I just don't know that the retention is that important. If you decide. So just because I consume or I'm bombarded, I guess you could say almost with way more information, whether it's from my email, my Instagram feed or Twitter feed, the retention isn't that important to me. That's what I would say. So I'm mindful of what I'm focusing on and trying to learn and trying to retain. And so for me, are we retaining it all? I would say no, obviously, right? And then at the same time, I don't see that as important.
So I agree with you, Tony, with about the retaining. I don't think that we retain. I think it all depends on the specified subject. So with IT, there's a lot of, we have security, we have networking, we have all the whole shebang, you know what I mean? But when you step into, say, building something, a house or something, it's really rhetorical, you know what I mean? So for me, it's kind of different because when I retain stuff, it's something that I know I'm going to be, what's the word I'm looking for, on top of over and over and over again. I'm going to be doing this over and over and over again. So my brain is going to, pick up the missing pieces to a specified software, anything like that. You know what I mean? It can be also the same thing when you're doing plumbing. You know what I mean? You're trying to find the pipeline. You know what I'm saying? It's a way of how you go about it, if that makes sense. And I think nowadays in the generation that we live in now, it's more of give it to me now. Give it to me now, and I just want it right then and there in that particular moment. And then after weeks pass, it's not useful to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's true. For example, Tony, you're taking a Spanish class now, right? So and you're learning a new language, which is commendable. I mean, so therefore your focus is currently right now on that Spanish class. I mean, right. I know that you're very focused on that, and then you even took a trip to Costa Rica I was in
Guatemala for 3 weeks.
Guatemala for a little while, just to speak Spanish and learn that language. So your focus is there on that one task. But then again, I know that my wife sends me Instagram posts like crazy. At night, I'll be sitting there, ding, ding, my phone's going off. Do I retain any of that information? Does that recipe look delicious? Sure it does, right? Am I going to remember how to make that recipe in 3 weeks? That's gone in 2 seconds, right?
Well, I mean, So we retain, we know where it's at. So our brain retains the, it retains the fact that we know that on Instagram, I can just go find that recipe. You know what I mean? So yeah, so like I would say that we retain it that way. So that's what. So if like when we ask a question, like speaking to the title, I would say like no, AI or like ChatGPT or these large language models do not make us stupider. That's what I would say if I was picking a side here.
Picking the side.
Well, interesting segue, Tony. Because let's dig into this. And again, we all do our pre-meetings and pre-production meetings that we have for our very fancy podcast for our whole 5 listeners. Thank you very much, by the way, all y'all that are tuning in.
Whoever stumbled upon it.
Yeah. But interesting enough, when we came up with this concept, is AI ChatGPT making us stupid? There was actually an article that was written back in 2008. And Tony went, I think Tim, our production crew here, found it initially. And then Tony found it on the web. Then, I, being the person I am, start reading about this article. So, and again, it was written in 2008 and it's published by The Atlantic. And the premise of the article is, are we consuming information too fast to retain it? And the article is titled, by the way, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And basically what the article came down to from a summary standpoint is, are we stopping to smell the roses? Are we just retaining, not retaining, are we attaining all this information, but not stopping to learn about that information that we're retaining? We're not stopping to smell the roses. So, and we'll discuss about this in a second. I just want to get through some of my points here. Marshall McLuhan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, pointed out in 1960, and now again, the height of TV came out just 10 years, radio's been out for a while. He posted an article and he said that that media are not just passive channels of information. They supply this stuff of thought, but they also shape the process of thought. And what the net seems to be doing is chipping away my capacity for concentration and contemplation. My mind now expects to take the information the way the net distributes it, in a swiftly moving stream of particles. Once I was a scuba diver in a sea of words. Now I zip along the surface like a guy on a jet ski. I think, me personally, I think that is profound.
I think it's perfect, and the reason, and I love the way he says, zip along the surface like a guy on the jet ski. Like for us in the beginning, coming in from 2000 all the way up to 2023, it's like just crazy and amazing in a way, because in the beginning we were drowning in the water in the beginning, where we're all this, and everything wasn't in front of us right then and there. Now that we have all this equipment and all this technology that's made our society or the human race to progress faster to a point where it's just like, are we keeping the information in our head, and are we even retaining it? And at that point, it's so much information and so much you can learn about that sometimes that you have to pinpoint one specified area. And sometimes we take heed to that and we don't, you know what I mean? And we are all over the place, you know what I mean? And I feel as though, I think after stepping into this right now and rethinking this, and that over the months before we stepped into this podcast, I'm looking at ChatGPT now, and it's just like, for me, the retaining portion and myself being, I would say I retain maybe 75 to 65% of it, if that makes sense.
Of what you learn on ChatGPT?
So I feel as though I'm on a jet ski half of the time. So,
Yeah. So I agree. I think, there are some things that are where we're jet skiing, right? I think, not just necessarily just AI, but technology, we have it everywhere now. Like a few examples of like where we'd be jet skiing is like our cell phones, like we don't remember phone numbers anymore, right? We don't remember dates. Like everything's in the calendar. Like I don't have to remember my friend's birthday. I'll get a reminder. Directions. That's a thing that we never have to know again. I mean, I don't know the last time I use it regularly, but also for traffic and things of that nature. But like I'm always using GPS. So, and a lot of this AI stuff is already like embedded in like in everything, in our browser, like our news feed, our consumption. So maybe we're not looking for new roses, I would say, instead of stopping to smell the roses. We're just not looking for new roses. But I would say that, when it comes back to this retention thing, like probably one of the first AI tools that I implemented in my day-to-day work and life was Grammarly. And I would say that using Grammarly, I became a better writer, at least when it came to like grammar, right? And spelling. So it's like, okay, we have spell check. Just because I have spell check doesn't, like, spell check shows me how to correctly spell something. And then I actually remember. So, like when I first started using Grammarly, I was like, wow, a mess, right? But then now it only has a few corrections, and maybe it's not even like the red underlines. It's like just suggesting things at this time. You know what I mean? Like for tone. Mm-hmm. So I would say, again, back to no, it's not making us stupid.
I like how you said the mess part. The mess part is what really made me smile. And why I say that is because so Grammarly, for instance, like you said, like you said, I'm just going off myself. I didn't realize certain words I did not know how to spell. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's an eye opener for you. And, and certain people, like, so back in college a couple of years ago, for me, Grammarly was like almost like my best friend when it came to writing certain things and writing certain papers, especially my cybersecurity classes or my cybersecurity courses, network courses. It was time consuming, and it was a lot of information coming into your head. You know what I'm saying? When you're in that position, it's like, am I taking all this in? And when you go to take that test, am I actually retaining this? Do I think I retained a majority from college? No, because majority of it, I would say I retained maybe 65, 50% of it. Do I remember everything? No, I don't remember everything. Do I still have the notes and stuff? Yes, I do, because before we were writing and everything, we didn't have that luxury. So, nowadays people have the computers now, they can type, they can, take a mini elastic stick to an iPad, you know what I mean? So it's more to our convenient now. And I don't think that it's making us stupider anymore. I feel as though it's making some people lazy. It makes some people lazy in a point where they feel as though they have to rely on it. You know what I mean? I don't just go into ChatGPT and just be like, write me a letter for something. You know what I mean? Certain people, I've realized over these last 2 years, a lot of people do that. Write me a letter for this. Do this for me. Do this for me. Like, you know what I mean? It's never, doing on your own. Like, you know what I'm saying? Generating on your own. You know what I'm saying? When you learn to generate on your own, then you learn to gain those specialties, you know what I'm saying? And you're able to grow. Do I think it's helping us grow? I do think it's helping us grow, but I don't think that it's making us grow to our full potential, because we don't necessarily retain all that information.
That's a good point you bring up there, Al, is that if let's say I'm in school, okay, I'm in high school. Let's say I'm writing an article, we're reading The Great Gatsby. And now I have to write a 3-page report on The Great Gatsby. If I leave the groundwork and the foundation ready for a good report, a good 3-page report, and I use ChatGPT to help me augment that and enhance that report that I already laid the foundation on in the first place, I already learned the book, right? I already know the book already because I wrote the report myself. I'm using ChatGPT as a tool to help me augment it. Versus if I went on ChatGPT, which I could do right now, and say, write me a 3-page report on The Great Gatsby and not even read the book, I didn't learn anything.
Oh,
Right. So am I stupider for not reading the book and not retaining everything and just being lazy and cheating the system of education and telling a AI platform to write me a report? Well, but then again, you guys remember Cliff Notes back in the day, the yellow book Cliff Notes?
First, we've always
Yeah.
yeah.
Remember? You're too young. You're too young.
I do remember Cliff Notes. We had Cliff Notes.
So Cliff Notes, back before the internet, if you were reading a novel, a book, a Moby Dick or whatever, and you needed help with that book, you would go to like, I don't know, Walden Books is back in the day.
Yeah. You buy the book. You buy the Cliff Notes.
I'm out on blog.
Big use it
At the $5 in the
Well, yeah. And then there's the yellow books and the synopsis and summary of the book that you're reading.
Yeah, the symbolism, all the stuff you had to find for your exams. But
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, and I mean, like these are super. These are like, we're just jet skiing on this topic right now. Like, right? Talking about a kid cheating on a paper, that's just jet ski. And like, I mean, there's always going to be, going back to the Sherlock Holmes, there's always going to be some Watsons. There are always going to be some Nubbins that do things that are, whatever. But I would say that, like, when it comes to people that are using these tools to, to build things, right?
To augment
our work. So, like, if we compare it to, like, if we look at programming, computer programming, right? Computer programming is a required skill to develop and ship software that is useful and practical. But the skill of programming isn't necessarily the practical component in it. So if I am, being creative, I realize something that I want to ship, like some sort of software or something like that. And now I can use ChatGPT to get me to that end product in a quicker way. Then it didn't make me stupider. I didn't retain how to code, but I don't care to, because I don't need to anymore. And because it's just not the practical skill. The practical thing is the piece of software that we're shipping, the application or whatever that we're shipping, and we're coupling that with our expertise, right? So now, like, coding isn't that important anymore, right? Like, because you'd have to have something else that mattered, like whether it be, IT, right? Like if you're an IT guy, now you have a skill set that you can code things without knowing how to code. And I mean, like, that's really, like, so, like, yeah, we could always talk about like these like instances of like maybe writing a paper or cheating on a test or whatever it is. But like, if we're doing like the real deep dive for the people that are going to make change, right? Like people that are cheating on tests and stuff like that, they're not going to really be the people that are influencing, steering society, right? Like I'm not too concerned about that. Like that, now we're jet skiing. That's what I'm saying. Like if we go into the deep dive there, that's what we're going to see. Like I would say that, we could really use this tool to augment our core competencies and then be able to focus more on our core competencies as opposed to this peripheral skills and tasks and things that we just don't need to be learning or developing. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to do the research on something because I can just go get the information I need. And then even more than that, with these large language models, use it to build and deliver the end product that I want. So that's what I would say about that.
You have a good point there, Tony, is that you need the foundation to know what to ask in the first place to build whatever it might be. So, for example, like if you're writing a script of some kind for logistics, well, you might know that I need to write something in Java or COBOL or C++. But you have to know what language model you even want to code in the first place to ask ChatGPT to do that for you. That task for you.
Right. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
I was saying, and like that, even that process could be sped up. I mean, if you were just straightforward with the large language model and said, hey, how can I want to, like, let's just say that you just wanted to become a programmer, right? And you wanted to develop that skill, and that's your end goal, and that's the practical skill that you want to develop. You could speed up the process of starting down the journey of being a programmer by asking the large language model, okay, what applications should I use, right? What language would be smart for a beginner coder to use? So you get to like get over these you know,
It's almost like the feature in front of you. It's now becoming the norm now, and which I agree with you heavily, Tony, about that. It's becoming the new norm now, which is fantastic in a way, because it's like, actually, no, I actually forgot to tell you guys something. So I have I call him my nephew. I introduced him to ChatGPT, and he ended up creating a an animated picture with the AI system, which I thought was pretty cool. And what he did is he took so it's for his class. He took what is it, the Twin Towers. He took the Twin Towers and kind of asked ChatGPT to manipulate it to correlate and mix with a Statue of Liberty. So cool. So what it did was it turned the picture upside down, and it put the Twin Towers coming in through the water, right? Through the water, and then it made the Statue of Liberty appear above the water. So what I think, while I look at ChatGPT, when I see certain things like that, it's like it gave him creation. It gave him an idea. It gave him a way to make it. It helped him to augment an idea, to create an idea of his own. And after even though he took the picture from what he generated from ChatGPT, he turned it into something completely different. But I wish I had that one. Like, I thought that was actually pretty cool, and I just thought about that when you started talking about that, Tony.
Yeah. No, it speaks to like the same, like the coding example. Like this is an anecdote, supporting that coding example of like realizing your end goal in a more efficient and effective manner, as opposed to like learning how to use Adobe Photoshop or whatever you would use to like make a GIF, whatever. So
yeah. And we're actually bringing up in part 2. And so in part 2, we're going to be talking about how we've changed our consumption habits over the course of the couple of years that we've had these tools available to us: Google, search engines, your mobile phones. And then as well, we're going to talk about other tools that we use to acquire knowledge. And then also, I have a good example of how AI was put to good use. And maybe we can talk about other ways that AI is a useful tool to go ahead and use in our normal day-to-day lives. But that would be in part 2, guys. So we're gonna take it from here. We're gonna invite you, our listeners, all 5 of them, to come back in a couple of weeks, and and we'll talk more about this topic then. So thanks everyone for coming. Thank you.